what's the heart of the matter? And we're just talking about practical strategies. Part of this is just understanding your reaction sequence. So the reaction sequence is understanding, what time of day we fall into temptation, specifically with, let's just say, like if we're talking about pornography and or masturbation. What time of day is that happening? Where are we? What emotion are we feeling? Common acronym there is BLAST: bored, lonely, angry, stressed, tired. I would add anxious in there. What's the action that leads to a setback? And then what is the setback? I'll go ahead and describe majority of men's reaction sequence. And here it is. It's late at night. You're alone in your room. You are bored. You're stressed. And you're surfing social media. And that leads to going to a porn site. And if you're Catholic, Father Sean Kakali adds this. If you're Catholic and all that happens, you're also wondering when's the next available time I could go to confession. Huh.
Right.
As
Oh
as
gosh.
awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember when he said that in a presentation, like, oh my gosh, he just described my life.
Yeah.
And that becomes part of the reaction sequence in an introverted way. And so just acknowledging, wow, this is what's happening every time I fall. And for some guys, that's every day. Some guys, that's every time they go home for break if they're in college. Some guys, that's every Saturday when they have nothing else to do. Some guys, that's when the roommate's not in the room. Our brain is so smart. So we're talking about the physiologicalness of this. Like it understands, oh, these things are happening, therefore I need to do this. And so one thing I've talked about a lot is like when guys go home for break, for Christmas break, or when guys go home for summer break, a lot of those memories, a lot of those addictions began at home, right? If they were in high school. I recommend something as simple as rearranging the whole room. Like retrain your brain to like it's a different environment. So because it's a different environment, you ought to be different. And sometimes the room that you grew up in since forever can be very triggering. The smell, the sight. Some guys fall in the bathroom. And so just understanding like, oh, that's where I go. I have one of my good friends, he's married, and he would fall in the shower, right? And he would tell because he knew that about himself in his marriage, he invited his wife into that struggle and said, "Hey, can you just talk to me while I'm in the shower?" And that's again, that sounds like crazy, but Father Sean Kakali, who's this priest who does this ministry, has given numerous talks now about doing whatever it takes, and not whatever it takes for anyone. No, whatever it takes for you, whatever it takes for Matt O'Hara, whatever it takes for Jeremy Rohr. Like, what are we willing to do? Like, what is it that we're willing to do? Whatever it takes, because what's at stake is our salvation. What's at stake is if we're married, our wife's salvation, and if we have kids, our kids' salvation. And so part of the plan is understanding to be able to fight the enemy, you have to know like what's the ground that we're even on. And so a simple plan when you know that's happening, it's late at night, alone in the room, you're bored, stressed, you're surfing on social media, is one idea is to go what we've called APE. Go APE, APE. You text or call your accountability partner, that's A. You send up a short prayer like a Hail Mary and that's your P, and then E is escape the scene. You literally physically leave the room, like go outside. It just gets your brain out of there. Again, it's not the foolproof thing, but it's definitely something very helpful than to do nothing.
Mhm.
What's your alternative? And just to give guys just a little sense of what does it mean to fight like in the midst of temptation.
Well, and that's so important to have a plan ahead of time. And what I heard you describing there is what am I going to do to begin to create a new process, a new pathway, and shaking it up like you described. I love that. Those are very practical solutions. And then that plan now becomes something I can execute as opposed to simply giving in and falling again when those stimulus comes.